Welcome back to the Alec Lewis Show. I'm your host, Alec Lewis. This is episode 97, recording on Thursday, July 17th. We are less than a week out from training camp beginning in Eagan, Minnesota. Wow, the guest for you today is Pete Bercich. We've had him on a ton. Love talking ball with him. Wanted to get his thoughts as he has considered what is forthcoming here with this Vikings season. We had a great conversation. Talked a lot about J.J. McCarthy, the charisma. Talked a bunch about the defense and the cornerback room and Dallas Turner. And then got Pete's thought. Pete gave us a lot of his thoughts on training camp, which was very funny and very silly and very eye-opening, which is good. As always, this show is presented by First Resource Bank. It's a member FDIC bank in the Minneapolis area. They've got branches all over the place, and just, as good of an online banking platform as you're going to find. You walk into the branch on Washington, near the Trader Joe's, kind of near US Bank Stadium. You'll see Christy at the front desk. Takes about one conversation. You sign up for an account. It's very, very easy. You talk Vikings with Christy. I was yesterday. She was talking about J.J. McCarthy, how excited she is to see what he's capable of. And here's the thing about the bank. They love the Vikings so much so that they have contributed 2 tickets, lower level, to the opener on Sunday Night Football against the Falcons for our giveaway here at the Alec Lewis Show. If you haven't heard of it, here's what you got to do. 3 things. Subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. If you're watching, just hit that button right below. Follow us on Twitter, Alec Lewis Show. And then follow us on Instagram at Alec Lewis Show. You do those 3 things, you are entered to win a $50 Jersey Mike's gift card, a t-shirt with the logo of this show, and the 2 tickets lower level to the home opener against the Falcons. You really don't want to miss out. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm fortunate, thankful to First Resource for contributing the tickets, but do those 3 things, which are in the description below, and you can enter the giveaway. If you have not, go check out The Athletic, where I do my day job covering this team. We've got a survey on there. I always love doing it because you get expectations from fans for the season. And it gives me a pretty good feel as I'm going into it and knowing kind of how to think about things. So please go do that survey. It takes about 5 minutes. And you guys, and then we got much more. The Athletic, we're locked and loaded next week. So just stay locked in. Subscribe. It's going to be relentless and going to give you as much as I've got in the tank for this season. Without further ado, let's hop right into our conversation with Pete Bercich on the Alec Lewis Show. All right, Pete, it's been a while. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Off season's done. It's over. It's life in the NFL. And for most of us, it's the 4th of July. I remember back in playing and coaching and you go out, you watch the fireworks, and when the fireworks are over, you kind of just take a breath and go, all right, here you go. It starts. And I'll never forget my first camp. My rookie year was it started July 14th. It was 5 weeks. We played a game in Tokyo. It was a very interesting. It was a very nice introduction to the NFL. But I remember talking to Brad Culpepper, if you remember Brad Culpepper.
Sure.
And it was the night. It was after all the meetings. It's almost 11, 12 o'clock at night, the night before we start. And he's like, "Yep, this is the best you're going to feel for about the next 6 months." So every year driving on a training camp, you're just you're driving through St. Peter and. You got all that time, and you're just like, "Yep, this is the best I'm gonna feel for the next 6 months." It's amazing how your life goes from, you're working out and doing things, you're active, you're doing stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like it goes for the next 6 months. You're just going 100 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden you lose a game, you lose a playoff game, boom, done, it's over, goodbye, see you later, pass the physical. Come in for a last day meeting, and then it's like, bye-bye. Maybe we'll see you next year. Maybe not, but it's been fun. See ya. It's it's bizarre. And then guys would scatter like ants. Like it was like an anthill. Boom, everybody would just go. And some people would go to California and whatever. And then maybe you'd talk to them in the next 3-4 months. Maybe not. I don't know. It's a unique way to live.
It's nuts. I mean, for nerds like me, it's like my mental space bandwidth that I've got right now is probably as much as I will have for the next 6 months. I did a thing, a podcast earlier this week where I ran through 10 things I'm excited about for training camp. And it was just like spurt of the mind, JJ and Dallas Turner and all this stuff. So I'll pose it to you. Like, if there's one thing, you're flying in here to the TCO, you're spending time in Egan, you're coming to watch, you're back with everybody. If there's something you're excited for specific to this team on the field, what would that one thing be?
Wow. I mean, I know number one, I don't have to be there every day. I'm not in training camp. And I swear to God, every time I go out there, it's like I guess like boot camp where you go through it and you're like, I'm glad I don't have to ever do that again. So every time I go to training camp and you see the sunburnt coaches and the players, it's like, thank God I don't have to deal with that again. What I'm excited about is the possibility of a new era of Vikings football with JJ McCarthy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of things, a lot of details and the nuances that we could talk about. But the bottom line is what's this young man going to do? How is he going to be? I'm very confident. I know when people ask me, it's a thing where, I love the fact that he's doing everything he can or has done everything he can thus far to say he is the guy. And that means the practice is showing up on time, staying out of trouble. I think earning as much respect from his teammates as he possibly can without having taken the field yet. I think he's done that. This is another conversation that we should have is, you look back at some of the great quarterbacks that this team has had, and Warren Moon, I think, would be one of them. And I remember playing with Warren, and Warren was the same dude, whether it was walking into the facility on Wednesday morning or at halftime of a playoff game. He was so just consistent, and that was kind of his superpower. Later on, having a chance to sit in the back of the bus one time with PA on our way to a game with Brett Favre and, just talking to him for 20 minutes. And he's just talking about life and his farm and I want to do this and grow stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you get off the bus and you're like, oh my God, I'd love to play with this guy, right? There's just something about him where you're just like, dude, I love this guy. Jim Kelly, had an opportunity to meet him back when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis. And stood there. It was he, Randall McDaniel. I mean, he wasn't there talking to me. He was there talking with John Randall and Randall McDaniel and everything. And after about 10 minutes, you're like, this guy is awesome. It's like, this guy's unbelievable. Like people like Jim McMahon. I mean, I think JJ has that. He has the ability in this day and age to still have that. I don't know if you want to call it a magnetism or whatever it is. You just like the guy. In fact, you love the guy to the point where you, as a teammate, would say, I'm going to do whatever it takes for this guy because you just respect him that much. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say this very carefully, but you look at a guy with all the, it's rare to find someone that has a height, weight, talent, speed, and all those things to be a great NFL quarterback. And then also has that extra something about him, right? That little swagger, whatever the hell you want to call it, that the great ones do have. And again, not to, take away from a guy like Kirk Cousins' career, but Kirk's kind of that guy, right? He can do everything, he does everything, but he doesn't have that magnetism where you just want to go party with the guy. You know what I mean? And I just kind of, from what I've heard and from what I've experienced meeting and talking with him firsthand, there's just something about this kid. I call him a kid. There's just something about him that you just like. And So you think about how rare it is to find someone, again, that has the height, the weight, the arm speed, the strength, the intelligence, the work ethic, all those things that, to make it in the NFL. And then on top of it, to be a special person in that regard. This is what I'm excited about because I want to see it. I want to, I know he's a rookie quarter, not rookie, but he's a first year guy. There's going to be some ups. There's going to be some downs. You can't go off the rails either way when he has an unbelievable game, right? You can't just be like, he's going to do this every week for the rest of his career. When he has a bad one, you're not going to say, it's time to get rid of him. And, who's the number one quarterback in the draft this year? And let's start losing so we can pick number 3 and blah, blah, You can't do that to yourself week in and week out. You just have to, ride steady. But again, I think for this franchise and for the future, this is the guy. He could be the guy. And we've had him before. Fran Tarkington, you think he had Joe Cap, and you look back and especially in the late 60s, but into the 70s, this team had everything but a quarterback. Right. And a lot of times it was money that took the quarterback out of the picture. And ownership now we don't have that type of ownership anymore. Ownership is committed to keeping great players around, a la Justin Jefferson. So here we are as a franchise, the third winningest franchise in the NFL, and I think we're the only one of the top 10 that hasn't won a Super Bowl. So why is that? Well, yeah, there's some bad luck, but there's also some big decisions on a personnel level that have been made throughout the 60s and 70s, I think, that kept this team from, from winning that trophy. I think all of those concerns have been answered. Ownership couldn't be any better. They couldn't be more committed to winning. Just look around you. They are. And then now you bring in this national title winning quarterback who got a year off, which might be the best thing for him. That's what I'm excited about, right? This could be an entirely different next 8 years for this franchise with Kevin O'Connell and this quarterback.
I want to stick for a second on the magnetism, the charisma, the aura, whatever word you probably want to use for it. And
the charisma.
I'm glad you went there because, literally 20 minutes before we hopped on this podcast, I was talking to someone who was very close to them in Michigan. And you can imagine in my job where you're telling stories, the amount of conversations I've had with people around this guy all off season. And the way they talk about him, and I've tried to tell parents, it's my parents who ask about anything with, it's like, I'm not sure if I've covered, maybe the only other one I covered, the Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt Jr., who was just like an absolute exceptional kid, prodigy. But the way these people who have spent time around JJ speak about their conviction and what he does for the people around him and what he does for like an organization, it kind of blows me away. And I guess the question, you've been in the locker room, you've been on coaching staff, how much for that position do you think that stuff really matters? How much, effect can that really have when a guy does have that type of aura to him?
It could mean everything. And when that's why I go back. And all right, let's just travel 400 miles away and look at the situation that Chicago's in with Caleb Williams. Obviously, physically the most talented thrower to come out of that draft. And so he has all the physical attributes you want. But when you think about Caleb Williams, or you listen to him and you see the pictures of him with his painted fingernails and some other things that people bring up, that's what I'm talking about, right? You're saying, well, does he want to play football? This is weird. Or what is this all about? Okay. He could be just a different kind of kid, different type of guy. He could be, Jim McMahon was that way. He was nutty, right? He was a little bit nutty. So maybe that's a good thing. And guys can hop on board with that. The ability to lead and the ability to elevate those around you. I retweeted something I saw on Justin Jefferson a couple days ago when he was, I don't know where he was talking to a younger player, and he basically told him, quit complaining about the guys around you, go do something with him, elevate him, work with him, go to the side, do this, do that. Don't just stomp around and say my quarterback's no good, or this guy's no good, or this guy's killing me. Do that. And that, again, that is something on a, if you rank importance of a great receiver, that thing is probably at the bottom. But when you're playing against a bunch of other people who all have everybody in the NFL is talented. The difference in talent on teams is like from a starter to the last guy on the roster, it's like this much. It's that razor thin. It's that competitive. Then all of a sudden the intangibles make a huge difference, right? Belichick would always say, talent sets the ceiling, character sets the floor, right? Well, that it's just that little gas that you can pour on a fire. And again, that's why I'm so excited. This is my 30th season with the Vikings. I get excited, but not that excited, right? It's kind of like, okay, here we go again. You try to be like the Warren Moon in me. I still, emulate Warren Moon because he's one of my heroes. You're like, hey, you just got to be right here all the time, right? And just stay. But yeah, you hear, to your point, you hear all these things. Now, him winning a national title helps add fuel to that fire,
of course.
Right? Had he not won a national title, people would be like, yeah, he's a great kid, but they wouldn't be. It would just take a little bit of that shine off the aura, if you know what I mean, right? So this kid's been able to do this and win, and at the same time be who he is. So if he can continue to do that, that legend will just explode. It's just like it's like gas on a fire, right?
But that's it. I mean, the crazy thing is you look at his background, and I mean, at Nazareth Academy, right outside of Chicago. I mean, he won there. Then he goes down to Then he goes down to IMG as a senior, and he wins there. And so so to your point, this legend, this fable, this like narrative of winner, I mean, he's done nothing but continue to further validate it along the path of his career. So it's. I think I'm with you. Another question to you would be, do you think, so I'll be out at training camp next week and I'll be out there every day and I've got this calendar and it's 12 o'clock every day, every week for the next 5 weeks. And I'm looking and I'm engaged and I'll be as locked in as possible. But do you think I will be able to really tell what this guy is capable of through these practices, in these practices, and what would you be looking for if you were me standing out there every single day?
Here's what I would look for. If you're gonna be at practice every day, what you want to look for is how well the machine runs when he's in the huddle. All right. Is it a situation where they get in the huddle? He gets, they practice with they radio in the call. He walks in the huddle, calls it. They get to the line of scrimmage. Cadence goes off. Nobody's jumping off sides. Like, you know what I'm saying? If that's the first thing, is if there's a lot of starting and stopping, that's no good.
Yeah.
Right. That's a bad sign from the beginning. And this is another thing especially with backup quarterbacks, like when, Sam Howell, who I believe will be our number 2, you want him to be able to step in there. And if anything stays consistent, it's just in and out of the huddle, the machine, right? Pass might be incomplete. But there aren't any mistakes. You get a rhythm in this offense, right? This offense is a rhythm. It's all rhythm and timing, right? And so keep an eye on that for sure. As far as making mistakes and, throwing good interceptions or bad interceptions, and you see this now with, on social media where you're like, this guy was on fire. He threw this many touchdowns in practice today and all that. You're like, okay, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You want him to make the mistakes now. You learn more from making mistakes than you do from doing things right. When you make mistakes, you learn more. And that's learning math in grade school and in professional sports. The problem is you can't be making a ton of mistakes. You might be learning a lot, but if you're making too many mistakes, then you need to go learn somewhere else, because so you have to ride. You kind of have to ride that wave of pushing yourself. But that's the main thing I would watch. Just take a step back, right, and watch him go about his business. And is he in command? Is he staying after? Is he, when the ones are not in and they're on the sideline, is he standoffish by himself? Is he talking to his coach? Is he talking to his teammates? Right. The guy's you have to love the game. And I remember talking to Steve Hutchinson about Favre, and he said, Favre could only really go to the facility and go home. He couldn't go anywhere because he'd get mobbed. And if those guys saw Favre walking in the facility around someone, like they're going to lunch or whatever, they would hide, because he would pull them aside and say, hey, I saw this on film and you got to look for this. And you wouldn't picture him as being that into the game and loving the game that much, to the point where he's pulling people aside and every free minute talking about the game itself. That's what you want to see out of him. Right. And so more so than, for me, arm strength is a big question. We'll see that when he throws a 17-yard or 15-yard comeback to Jordan Addison on the opposite hash, right? When Darnold made that throw early in the season last year, I'm like, okay, that's a throw that the defense is going to give up and say, hey, you know what? If you can make that throw, good for you, and you take advantage of it. And so if McCarthy can do that, then he has checked the box. Yes, he's got enough arm strength, the accuracy, all those things. Those things are all important. But from how is this kid's future going to be? Just watch him go about his business, right? Just keep an eye on him in that. And again, when the offense is in there, does it run like a machine? Or is it start, like I said, start and stops and coaches coming in and talk? No. You want to see that thing just running. So yeah, that's what I would keep an eye on.
Yeah. No, I think it's very fair. And that's probably, in this day and age, to your point, with social media, I mean, it's like every throw is tracked, every video of it. And the hard part is you're talking to people listening to the show and you're like, try not to ride the wave. It's hard. I mean, it is hard. You have to really work to make sure you're putting the correct amount of meaning on each data point that you see. It's like, it could just be a Tuesday in training camp. It's only a certain amount. To segue from JJ, because and we understandably, we've done it. We talked about it for 20 minutes, and we should, and we will continue to. But I'd ask you this: with the cornerback room, there's been a lot of conversation about it. Should they add another piece? Do you feel confident enough with it? Does where they are with cornerback depth worry you at all?
I don't know. I part of me says, yeah. I mean, I try to look at it this way and say, when you look at this team, what meeting room, if you're trying to make the roster, what meeting room do you want to be in? Right. And right now I'm saying, all right, I think guys like Bartholomew and Urasek, I'd love to be one of those two guys, because there are two tight ends on this roster, right? We need 3, perhaps 4. Those two guys, are in a great meeting room. I think the DB room is the same way, where if you were a younger first-year player, maybe bounced around, or there's need for depth, right? You could say Mekhi Blackman's going to be part of the mix and he's going to play. Question, is he going to be healthy? There's a lot, he has to figure out, as a 5'10" corner, how to play against 6'3" and 4 wide receivers. I'll never forget the Denver game from a couple years ago, and that's basically what they did. They just started throwing jump balls, and we ended up losing the game.
Bengals game 2 that year, 23.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So that room, I look at it and say, there's room. They need bodies, anything. But again, going back and looking at this defense, and how it goes about its business. The identity of our defenses is getting pressure on quarterback, and that is through the versatility of the players. And that's not just the people that rush quarterback, but it's also the versatility of the secondary. You have a guy like Byron Murphy. He's supposed to be your guy. But the ability to bring in a veteran who might be past his prime, this defense is really perfect for him, because you're not Brian Flores is not asking you to shut a guy down for 46 pass attempts in a game. What he wants is a smart player who can be versatile, meaning sometimes we'll play cover 2 and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Sometimes you're going to drop and be the deep half guy. We're going to give this kind of a look. You got to be able to make the adjustments. That's all. That's the thing, is you got to know what's going on around you, what everybody's doing around you. So you have to have more awareness, and you have to be able to adjust, because that's the hardest part about blitzing an offense is if they just lined up, you could be like, okay, here we go, Pinheir's back. But they move. They don't stand still. They shift. They motion. They do all these things. So you have to think on the fly. That's where experience comes in. So I don't think it's a problem for this defense, for this team, to go find a veteran corner that may have lost a step or whatever, and just plug them in and say, okay, this is kind of how we do it. That's the advantage of Flores. I've said it before, Flores has saved this franchise millions of dollars, because we don't need to go out and just have, the old saying, the better your players are, the thinner your playbook. Meaning, if you've got, if you've got Richard Dent and, Hampton and McMichael and or whatever, or you're coaching the Purple People Eaters, you line up in the same formation. You don't care, because
right.
Those 4 guys,
our guys are better than your guys.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, yeah, you don't want them, thinking. You just let them go be what they do. But Flores has found a way through the versatility of players to, like, Van Ginkel. I mean, Grenard is our best defender overall. He's the most consistent pass rusher that we have. That's why he gets paid
underrated.
So much.
He's still underrated.
He's still my favorite. And then you look at a guy like Van Ginkel or Cashman, and they were kind of, they were good players, but my God, they found a home in this. Look at Ivan Pace, right? I mean, he, an undrafted rookie free agent. He found his niche. He's doing his thing. Metellus. I mean, look at Metellus. We were all kind of, when they re-signed Metellus, the first year Flores was there, I remember going to minicamp and seeing Metellus out there with the ones in nickel situations, and I'm thinking, well, that's new, right? I mean, Metellus didn't play a whole lot his first year, and now he's out there. He's going to be this, but we didn't know what Flores needed in versatility, right, and intelligence, and so you can find certain players, and I think get them at a discount. My point, I know you're asking me what time it is, and I'm telling you how to make a watch. The whole point is, I'm not worried. I trust this staff defensively that they have the people that they think they need, right? And I do really believe that if we have injuries or if you need bodies in the defense in the backfield, you're going to be able to find them. Again, we're not locking people down and playing man-to-man all day long. We are doing a lot of different things, and I think there are a lot of veteran good cornerbacks that may have lost a step that you can plug and play, and they're going to do just fine. Not at every position, but at those positions. I think the defensive tackle position is kind of the same way. We got through with Bullard and Tillery. Nothing against those two. Tillery was like a journeyman kind of on his, no one knew who Jerry Tillery was when you bring him in, and then the guy ends up playing all year and signs another contract, resurrected his career. You're replacing those guys, with Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Wow. Okay. Now you see what I'm saying? So, you have to have two really good outside linebackers in the scheme, and you got to have inside linebackers that can rush the passer, because that's what we do. We probe, we find the weakness and protection. If it's the running backs, well, then we're sending we're going to get the center to turn one way, and we're sending linebackers from the other side, blah, blah, blah. That's just how we go about our business. So is it a concern? Yeah, you'd love to have more talent, but you only have a limited amount of resources, and you got to spend them somewhere. And I think the changes to the offensive line were just that's what you do. That's what these coaches do in the offseason, right? Like, what do they do all day long? And you're like, well, this is what they do. They sit there and they throw all this stuff up, have these conversations, and then, you know, the more you get paid, the bigger the decision it is that you get to make. So the GM and the head coach get to say, okay, what's more important to this team? Is it fixing this offensive line, or is it, you know, this defensive back room? Do we need a couple bodies over there? And then you got to make that difficult decision. And then you know, go through free agency, then the draft, and hopefully when it's all said and done, you've put together a team that matters. And again, if the quarterback's not good, none of this matters.
So exactly right.
So here we go. It's you know, you go right back to the beginning and say it's about the quarterback, but there are so many other intriguing things. Yeah, this year I'm excited. I don't expect us to win as many games as we did last year in the regular season. If we don't, you know, my goal or my measuring stick for this year is a playoff win.
Right? So that's where you're at with it. I asked that question.
Yeah. If we go 9-8, right, and somehow make the playoffs and then win a wild card game on the road, that's a better season than last year.
Of course.
Because we know how to win regular season games, right? This year, with the way the schedule falls, the best quarterbacks we're going to face all year, fortunately for us, are going to be at home. We have to find a home field advantage, which is something that in the past it's been kind of, you know, it's kind of like the further we go away from home, the better we play. We're undefeated in London, for example, right? But we have to home field really has to be an advantage this year.
With the cornerback conversation, one of the things you said is like, we don't, you know, the Vikings don't play lock them down man coverage. And one wonder that I have, something I ask people internally, is to take this thing and continue to evolve and continue to be as good as they have been defensively. Do you have to transition more to being the man coverage, lock it down, or can you still thrive on what you do on the back end with more pressure with 4 on the front end? Like, I guess as they look at trying to maintain the level defensively that they have put on the field the last 2 years, can you continue that if you don't increase your usage of man coverage?
I think the increase in man coverage the quickest benefit is going to be the ability to mix it in with pressure, for man pressures and zone pressures, right? Hard to disguise the two, but, well, you know, that's a whole nother animal there.
Sure.
But mixing in man-to-man coverage when you are pressuring the quarterback, I think is going to is where, if we were going to play more man-to-man, so to speak, there's a big difference between utilizing something more and then making it your identity.
Sure.
Right? Our identity from a coverage standpoint, believe it or not, is Tampa 2.
Yeah. It's the non-traditional guys drop. Yeah.
Which is really a 33 kind of double cloud. It's more like a 3 deep coverage than a cover 2. You know, I don't want to go in the weeds. You can watch one of my videos and I kind of explain it more. But that's kind of our identity. We're not going to just flip the script and all of a sudden be a 2-man style of defense.
Yeah.
That's way any other. You're not going to do that. That's not us. So, but mixing in man is going to help. You look, you go through the numbers, right? And we're in scoring, we were 5th, right? In yards per game, we were kind of right at the middle of the field. But what's the thing? It's like our red zone defense is so good. And other things that stand out, our average time to pressure last season was 2.53 seconds, which was number 2 in the NFL. So we got to the quarterback the second fastest of any team. And that's really not because we've got guys up and down the line that are just beating the guys trying to block them. We have unblocked players to the quarterback.
Bingo. Yeah.
Which in the NFL is unbelievably rare.
Yeah.
But because these guys are so versatile and able to do so many different things, they can do that. They can create those things. They understand what protections are, and they know how to attack them. And maybe in like you look at Tennessee, you look at who was our Jacksonville, right? By the end of that game, the Chicago Bears, they were just sliding. They were so bewildered and messed up and so many mistakes. They were just sliding the line and letting the back cut on they were just trying to just keep it as simple as possible because of the mistakes, the mental mistakes. So when we play younger quarterbacks, our defense does so well because we're throwing so much stuff at them. Now, the veterans, playing some of the veteran quarterbacks is going to be interesting this year because those guys are good at what they do. But we were number one in the league in we were first in number of passes faced as a defense, and I think that has a lot to do with how good our running game was. But we had 49 sacks, fourth in the league. We were third in the league in quarterback pressure. So we're getting to the quarterback, and with the changes that we've made and some of the bodies we've added defensively, I think that number. Here's the thing. Let me say this. If that number stays the same, it could be an unbelievable boom to the defense if we can rush 5 and get to the quarterback consistently. And by that, I mean rush 5 and kind of play the kind of cover 2 that we do behind it, where you have one-on-ones across the board and someone has to win. That's probably, and this is going back to, was it 3 seasons ago when we lost to the Giants in the playoff in the playoff game. That style of defense where you're just kind of rushing 5 and playing a zone behind it with a hole somewhere and hoping to get one-on-ones across the board and having somebody win. If we can consistently get pressure off of that look, then this defense is going to be markedly better because you're not going to have to be fancy. You're not going to have to do this. You're not going to have to do that. You're not going to have to. It's that I think is the key. And I know we won't see any of it in the preseason, but when the regular season comes, if we can just get after the quarterback, because I don't think we sacked the quarterback with a 4-man rush until we played the Colts,
which was week 8 or something. And we didn't think about that. We didn't sack the quarterback with a 4-man rush. Maybe against the Texans. I'm trying to remember, but it wasn't until we didn't sack the quarterback until 3 minutes left to go in the game. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 we had 3 or 4 in a row on 4-man rushes. That's not our identity. That was the Viking defense back when Zimmer was here. Yeah. Playing 2-man and playing all these different things behind it and rushing 4 and then, maybe throwing in a sneaky zone blitz here and there to attack something. That's not who we are anymore. But getting pressure on the quarterback without having to blitz, so to speak, or get fancy or overload or if we don't have to be exotic to get to the quarterback, then I think that this defense can, because trust me, we're 5th in points per game. To get to 3 is massive.
That's a huge leap, right? We're not talking about going from 30th in the league to 16, right? If you get to 4th, that's a huge deal. You know what I mean? So if we, and I think we can, but if this defense can get better points per game, oh my goodness, the possibilities there. And that's what I'm going to be watching when the regular season comes. If we're getting after the quarterback, which is what we do, but we're doing it without having to get super fancy and crazy, keeping it simple, then that's a problem for offenses. And you're going to need that, though. When you're playing Philly at home, you're playing Cincinnati at home,
Joe Burrow,
you're playing Lamar Jackson. You're playing some really good quarterbacks this year in Minnesota, thankfully. So the crowd noise, I think that's the difference between our schedule and, let's say, like the Bears, who play the same teams we do, but they're in Cincinnati, they're in Baltimore, right? They're in Philadelphia. That's a huge difference. And then, we get Pittsburgh and Cleveland and neutral sites. Overall, yeah, you're playing good teams, but at the same time, I think there's some things in that regard that have gone that go kind of go our way.
To close the loop on the defense, where do you think Dallas Turner fits into all of this?
I think he kind of fits in anywhere because he has that talent set, and that's the part I think that's so you could line him up you can put him at corner. He's fast enough. He could do it. The question is mentally,
can he handle?
I mean, can he? Here's the question. The best way to turn a great athlete into an average athlete is give him too much to think about.
Yeah.
Okay. So is the game slowing down for him mentally? Right. You watch Van Ginkel go about his business, and he has such an unbelievable feel for the game. Right.
Yeah, the
interceptions prove it.
Yeah.
He just has a feel for when he's on the edge and the tackles do certain things. I've got some type of motion my way, and it happened against the Bears when he just stood his ground. He didn't chase. He just has a feel for the game that's unbelievable. If Dallas Turner can get to that level of feel for the game, he's going to be unbelievable because he has the leverage and the power. He has the physical tools that he has are unbelievable. It's just a question of, can he just go out there and just play and not have to think and just get himself in the right spots? And you saw it. I saw a little bit of it last year where he's playing outside linebacker and I remember the play, he got a hit on the quarterback, but the tight end turned out and the tackle blocked down, and he kind of stopped for a second and then looked, and you could tell he just didn't know how to react. And then he took off for the quarterback. And when he decided to take off, oh my God, it was like he was shot out of a cannon and hit the quarterback. If he can just eliminate that millisecond, that fraction of a second of having to diagnose everything and then go, oh, okay, I can go. That's going to be all the difference in the world. Don't forget, we also played him off the ball when we lost Cashman. We moved him around. We experimented him as an off-the-ball linebacker. Didn't quite work out. But that also slows his progress in the positions where he would normally be had Cashman been there, right?
Yeah, there's an entirely different set of keys at that spot that he's now.
Oh, it's a totally different. It's like speaking a different language. It's a different country. He has all, again, he's more talented than most guys that play stand-up linebacker. It's not that he can't do it physically. It's just, mentally, can you do it?
Yeah.
You would, as a veteran, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, yeah, you would love that. But right now, that's the big thing with him. So it has nothing to do with his height, his speed, his weight, his strength, all that stuff. Hopefully he's improved in all those areas, and that's the job of the off-season training staff. It's the mental identification, game slowing down. This is starting. I can just go out and play now. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm thinking about what the offense is doing. I'm thinking about what they're doing because I know what I'm doing, like chewing gum or riding a bike. You don't think about, when you ride a bike, you're not thinking about, okay, I got to do this and, counter steer or got to do my, no, this all comes natural. That's where this game has to be for him from a defensive standpoint. So he can just watch the offense and say, all right, here we go. And man, and then turn that physical ability loose. I mean, he could be our most valuable defender this year.
Wow.
It can happen.
Yeah.
If he feels that comfortable and is able to and mentally get the game down and get his reads and keys and all that, he's that talented. So we'll see.
Is there anything else that has been on your mind as you're thinking about this team arriving next week?
I think taking a step back, we have a lot of the free agents that we brought in are coming off of injury, like guys like Will Fries and stuff like that. And managing that and making sure everybody is healthy. Hargrave had a triceps. A lot of the free agents we brought in are very talented. And I think we got them at a bit of a discount only because they had injuries the prior year. So, making sure that all those guys get healthy and stay healthy and get, and then again, you got Darisaw coming back, and it's not as if we're going to start day one of training camp with all of our expected week 3 or 4 or 5 starters are going to be in there. This is going to be a process where this guy's healthy, so he goes in. Darisaw is fully back, so now he's going to be in, whether that's, a weekend of the preseason, 2 weeks in, whatever that. So you see what I mean? You're kind of, it's kind of a
progression.
It's a progression of bringing everybody in. So that's always a concern, though. I mean, injuries are always a concern. And then the preseason, you love to find 2 or 3 guys who, are going to turn it on, right? Ty Felton. It's like, okay, I want to see what this kid can do.
Yeah.
And again, if you're playing out there in the preseason with the 2s and 3s, you better look like an all-pro, because the ones are the one. If you're going to be out there with the ones making an impact, you better just dominate the field when you're out there. If you disappear in the preseason when you're out there against the 2s and 3s,
it's not a good sign.
Depending on where you are in your career.
Sure.
I'm not, again, if you get a third or you get a draft pick or whatever, and he's out there and not really showing up, it's like, okay, you have some time, right?
Like a Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. We're not, to expect him to just be out there dominating from the get-go probably would be foolish.
He might. He's so strong. You look at a guy like him, and I look at it. See, so if I go to practice, like if I'm you and I go to practice, I'm watching how hard he works in practice.
And I think that's a great advice.
His NFL career and his ability to play in this system with Flores will be completely and solely a result of how hard that kid wants to work, because he's unbelievably strong. Even for his size, he's just going to get bigger. So he has all these tools to be a really good interior defensive lineman, even on base downs, especially on base downs. If I'm watching practice and he's just tearing it up, and he's not last in line to go through drills, and he's not, he's not missing a day here because my hammy hurts or my foot, if this guy's out there just working, it's like, okay, he will. That's what, as a coach, you watch college film and you watch how a guy runs the football. And if I see a guy that's going to run to the football, I'm thinking of Toby King or
Kobe King. Yeah,
Kobe
you
King
got it.
right
Yeah.
now. I watch Kobe King run to the football on film, and I'm going, I know that when I line up a drill on the first day of training camp, this kid's going to go 100 damn miles an hour.
Yeah.
So he's going to learn. He's going to work, and he's going to learn. And you want the same thing for all those guys up front. So when you're watching these rookies, just watch them go about their business. Same thing you do. I said earlier with McCarthy. But watch where are they working hard? Are they trying to get to the front? And those are the guys that I'll bet my money on, because right now, again, we talked about it. The difference between the best and the worst athletically is this much.
Yeah, it's
work ethic. Availability is your greatest ability, right? One of the who said that, I forgot. Oh yeah, Bud Grant. Still holds true. Still holds true today. So yeah, it's not exciting, but that's training camp sucks no matter what I mean. That's
don't end it like that.
Right.
It
does. It does.
It's so funny because you get out, like in my role, and you know this, and then we'll end this soon. But you get out there, I'm so excited. We're back on the field, get to see everybody. And then everybody's stretching and it's slow. And then it's like, all right, now you want to get immediately to the next phase where the pads are on. Then you want to get to joint practices. And it's good. I'm looking for, I will say, to be back with everybody.
It's kind of like, do you want to start, it's like choosing the way to die. Do you want to die a slow, miserable death, which is like what you do or what I would do if I'm there every day, standing and watching, and you're standing there going, well, thank God I'm not doing all these goddamn drills and getting hit in the head and all that stuff. But then after about 3 days, you're like, my back is so locked up and my feet hurt from just standing here day.
Just getting toasted underneath the sun.
There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. I'm saying there's nothing good about training camp.
I'm choosing optimism. I'm choosing
well, that's
joy.
Fine. Go ahead. You know what? I mean, when you change how you look at things you look at change, right? I get that.
Exactly.
If you're gonna
say
I mean, and I'm a bit of a cynic on that because Lou Holtz tried to sell us that bill of goods. He's like, it's the beginning of a new day and all this is all great and it's going to be a great day. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Yeah. And then you go out to camp and the training camp and then he's, whatever, just making out of it's like, right. It's like, okay, 6 hours later after he's done beating the living hell out of you, you're like, yeah, this is a great day, coach. Thank you. I'm like, all right.
Well, Pete, I appreciate it as always. Always fun to talk. Looking forward to seeing you. Should be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be. Again, like I said, taking a step back again. This franchise, where it is, the JJ McCarthy. Let's see if he's the guy. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. Blah 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 blah. But man, it's the fact that it could happen. And we could be in great hands for the next 8-10 years or however long, with this coaching staff offensively, and how long you can keep a guy like Brian Flores around, I don't know. But you've got yourself a very good set of circumstances that could explode into something tremendous. So that's what gets me excited, which will last about 10 minutes into the first training camp practice when I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. This sucks watching guys run around and drink water, right? And then it's so funny because if you're out there doing it, you're about ready to die, and then you're watching it, you're going, this is what is this? This is boring,
right? You're like, they're not doing let's walk through it. All right, always fun. Thanks, Pete. Talk soon.
All right, Alex. See you, man. Thanks.
And that'll do it for episode 97 of the Alec Lewis Show. The giveaway that we're going to do for episode 100, every information piece you need is in the description below. Please check out First Resource Bank. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. We cannot thank them enough for their support over the course of this podcast. And then go check out The Athletic. I mean, stories galore to come on everything and anything. Talking to a lot of people, teased some of it throughout this show. Got a lot more to come. Been grinding over the offseason where you probably shouldn't be, but that's the job. That's what I love to do, and hopefully that comes through. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back early next week with some training camp takeaways, thoughts, everything you need here at the Alec Lewis Show. So stay locked in, stay tuned. We will talk to you guys very, very soon.